What's good, YouTube? Jay Lee here. Got another Northwest podcast for you. Today, I want to delve into the concept of success and how it affects, or how a man's life is related to it, and just kind of all the ins and outs of what that means for a man and what that means for being in the world, being alive today. I think that success, the concept of success, is extremely core. It's very core to the human experience. It's very core to the experience of life, of living. And I think that men particularly are adherents to it. They're particularly subscribed to the concept and idea of success because it's very much linked to our self-worth. It's very much linked to what we are as just, in existence. What a man is in existence is inextricably linked to success, right? So there's a whole lot to delve into, but I kind of want to I'm going to come at it from the angle of questioning what is real success, right? What is real success? What does it really mean? And what can a man do? How can a man really be successful? So let me start off by saying I don't subscribe to the worldly concept of of success, which is really just fundamentally materialistic, right? In the world, as far as what makes the world run and what makes the world tick, and I've been off, in other videos, I've gone off on tangents about what the world really is, the cosmos, and I've always applied a spiritual scope to it, a spiritual viewpoint, that the world, or the matrix, if you will, which is a very apt definition for the world, is a system. It's a systematized, everything is systematized in the world. And I don't want to go too deep into this, but essentially it's not really set up for everybody to have success. And it's not really set up for everybody to gain the most out of it in the sense that we all think we should gain the most out of it. Oh, I want to be rich. I want to have all these cars. I want to, because this is what most people think when they think of success. They think of wealth. And okay, you don't have to have a bunch of possessions to be wealthy. You can just have be sitting on a nice nest egg, right? But when you really break it down, what is it really? It's slavery. Success in the worldly sense is slavery. The whole concept, everything behind it, everything driving it is slavery. Why? Because you have to commit to it. You have to, okay, there are people who get lucky. There's people who win the lottery. There's people who just were born with golden vocal cords and can sing, and then they put out a record and they're a millionaire tomorrow. That does happen, but it's extremely rare. Most people who are millionaires, most people who have a lot of wealth, most people who are very successful have to work at it. They have to invest their souls, their time, their body, their mind, everything. And this is where you become a slave. This is where you become a slave to the system. And this is a systematized thing. It's just everything about it. Now, again, there's plenty of opportunists out there who have lots of ambition in their heart, and they're not going to agree with me. They're not going to agree with me because naturally they, gravitate towards, I'm going to work hard, I'm going to get mine, because there's something in men that's like, I got this juice in me, I got this vigor, I got this ambition, I'm going to go out and I'm going to, I'm going to rebuild Rome, and they just have this, vigor in them, right? That's fine, and that's testosterone, that's masculinity. I've got no problems with that essence. But again, if we break down what the system is it's slavery. And the reason why it's slavery is because not everybody can be successful. Not everybody is going to be successful, and this is where we have to define success. This is where we have to define what success is. And this is where I take a left turn, right? There's a fork in the road, not going straight, not going right, I'm going left, right? Why am I going left? Because I'm not going to walk on the same path that everybody else is going on. I'm not going to try to beat everybody else and go around to the right and take the shortcut or the long way so I can be more rich than anybody. I'm not doing either of those things. I'm going to go left, and I'm going to redefine success as something else, not materialistic, not money, not wealth, not security, because this is what really people want. They want security. They don't want to have that fear of I could go hungry or I could go homeless or this, that, and the third, right? This is the fear that most people deep down really have. And this is where I would say faith comes in. This is where I would say faith has to come in, because it's not that these aren't valid fears. These are are any fears really valid? Okay, yes, fear is healthy in certain contexts, right? Anxiety is an over stimulation of fear, right? Anxiety is an overdoing of fear, where fear becomes irrational. That's what anxiety is. But fear can be healthy, and fear can make you smarter. It can make you more careful. Good. Fear is good in context. But again, it's a system, and it's a system that is geared towards making you work, and it's a system that is geared towards making you tap into the matrix. In order to pay your rent, you got to tap into the matrix. In order to pay your car bill, you got to tap into the matrix, because you need that money, you need that sustenance, right? And that's just the way the world is. So as a realist, not an idealist, but a realist, you have to look at life in a real way. Well, I got to pay my bills, so I got to work, right? That's just bottom line. That's what it is to be a man. But again, what is the carrot in front of the face? What is the carrot dangling in front of the horse's face to get the horse to run faster? What is it? It's, I want to beat this thing. I want to beat poverty. I want to beat the slavery of the system. And most people will not. Most people won't. Most people will work their whole lives, collect a Social Security check when they turn 65 or 70, whatever it is, whatever that number is now. I don't even know what it is now, because I'm not old. But anyway, haven't thought about it. Whatever. People will be like, oh, you're financially irresponsible. Okay, maybe. But anyway, so you're going to hit a certain point where maybe you'll get Social Security, maybe you'll die, or excuse me, maybe you'll retire, and you'll get a certain amount of time before you die. Is that really worth it? Is that really success? Now, again, you have to define what success is. Most people are assuming that success is freedom from that financial slavery. That's what most people want, right? The fact is that most people won't reach that. That's just the bottom line. It has to be that way, or else the system won't work, right? We have a system where the world, the way that it's run now, needs workers. It needs slave workers. It needs wage slaves. It needs these people to function. We haven't gone into AI. We haven't gone into robots. And I don't think we probably ever will get to that point. Why? Because the elites, they don't want us. The people who really run the world, the people who run the banks, the people who run the government, it's not in their best interest to have a world full of people who are not slaves. The reason why it's beneficial to be a slave in their viewpoint, the reason why they believe that's beneficial for the populace to be slaves, is because it takes your time and it takes your energy, and eventually it takes your soul and your body. Why? Because 8 hours a day, 5 days a week is grueling. It just is for everybody. People are tired as hell. They don't have time to start thinking about things. They don't have time to organize. They don't have time to be like, hey, wait a minute. Well, this is wrong. That's wrong. What's going on there? They don't have time for that stuff because they're busy working. So it's beneficial to have a world full of working slaves, because it keeps people in line and it keeps people in check. Now, I guess to a certain extent, I'd have to say, hypothetically, I would say it's a good thing, because if people had so much time on their hands, they'd probably be getting into a lot of weird shit. So in that sense, it's kind of good. Like, it keeps people occupied. if you look at it from that angle, like, okay, they're not doing drugs, they're not wasting themselves, they're not out having orgies in the street yet, although they kind of are. But people have a tendency to ruin themselves, and structure saves people from that. So it's a positive thing in a way, right? But again, there's all kinds of variables, like, why don't we get paid more? Why is there a certain limit on hours of why is it 40 hours a week? Why isn't it 25 hours a week? Why is it this? Why is it that? You know what I mean? There's a lot of variables that we could talk about. I'm not going to delve into that stuff. I'm just going to say a broad sweep and say it's slavery. It just is. You are, I think it's called, I don't think it's called chattel slavery. Anyway, you're a wage slave. I think chattel slavery is what they had in America at the beginning of the start of the country, but 1800s, whatever. Anyway, but no, it's wage slave. You're a wage slave. You are working. You are giving away your body, your time, your energy, your potential. You'll probably a lot of your happiness, because time. If you have more time, you're happier. You can do what you want to do. You can go do whatever hobbies you want. You can enjoy things, etc., etc. But when you're working all the time, you don't have energy. You don't have time for that. It's just all about survival. It's all about your necessities, and that's really all people have time for, and hopefully some family. And a lot of times, family comes second to that grind, right? A lot of times, family comes second to keeping your job. So define success. I think for a lot of people, it's wealth, because wealth brings security, wealth brings time and freedom. Okay, don't let people misdefine what wealth really is. Wealth isn't like, hey, I got a bunch of jet skis, I got a bunch of cool cars, and now I'm happy because I got this material stuff. Like, okay, that's part of it, I guess, but that's not the main thing. The main thing is that I don't have to work. That's the main thing about wealth, is I'm secure. The rest of my life is provided for. I don't have to do crap. I can just sit at home. I got all my bills paid. I own my home. I got a nice car. I don't ever have to worry about maintenance on my car, because I got enough money in the bank to cover that. I got enough money to cover food for the rest of my life. I'm good. That's why people really want to be famous, right? I think there's a lot of misconstruing of what wealth is, and there's a lot of like disinformation, planned misinformation. That's what disinformation is it's planned misinformation, right? The reason why they tell people who are poor or whatever, oh, money doesn't buy you happiness, whatever, it's a distortion. It's not that money doesn't buy you happiness. Money buys you security. Money buys you health. Money buys you longer life. People who work are stressed. People who work have heart attacks. People who work and they're grinding, it kills your body, it kills your mind, it kills your soul. People who have financial freedom are mentally healthier, psychologically healthier, emotionally healthier. These are all things they don't tell you. The reason why they don't tell you is because it's not in their best interest if you get smart. That's what the matrix really is right there. It's not in their best interest if you get wise, right? They want to keep you numb and dumb. So they tell you stupid things like, oh, money doesn't buy you happiness, which is like this kind of quasi-truth. The reason why it's a quasi-truth is because it's not that money buys you happiness. It's the things that money can do for you, which allows you to become happy through your own, through your own self, right? When you don't have to work and you can go to the beach every day and you got a nice cool car, you're happy. I'm sorry, you just are. So that's what people want when they're really talking about success, whether they know it or not. And again, these little phrases like, money doesn't buy you happiness, that's just to throw people off. That's just to keep people, keep them guessing, right? Oh, well, money doesn't buy you happiness, so I'm content with my little bartender job or my little, studio apartment, and I'm fine with it. It's like, no, you don't want that. You don't really want your job. You really want to have financial freedom. But with that said, here's the truth. Again, most people are not going to reach that because the system isn't set up for that. It's not how it works. It's not how the free market works. Everybody can't be rich. It doesn't make sense. Some people will be rich. That's why they call them the 1%. Now, I've gone into this podcast without doing the numbers. I've gone into this podcast without studying. It used to be 1% where they said, oh, only 1% of people are ever going to be rich and fulfill their dreams, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if that number's changed. I think there are more millionaires now. You have to talk to somebody who's in economics or whatever. I do think there's more millionaires now than there ever has been in history. I think that is a fact, and there's more billionaires as well. But that doesn't mean that it's reachable. It's reasonably reachable for the average person. It's just not. That's what another thing they don't tell you. So it's like this catch-22. On the one hand, they tell you bullshit to keep you docile. On the other hand, they put this carrot in front of your face. And who's doing this? It's Satan. Who's doing this behind the scenes? It's Satan, because who runs the world? Satan. We see the picture. I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I'll say this quick thing. We see this picture in the book of Exodus with Pharaoh and the children of Israel building bricks for Pharaoh. That is a metaphor, an allegory of the world. What is the world? The cosmos. It's not the God's kingdom. It's not the kingdom of the heavens. When Jesus says the kingdom of the heavens is in your midst, no, that's not what the cosmos and the world is. The world is the matrix, and who's running the matrix? It's not the machines. The machines are a metaphor for Satan and his demons. Right? What do the demons do? They go around instigating things. They go around trying to stir people up. People are in slavery. That's the whole picture of the book of Exodus, when the children of Israel were in building bricks for Pharaoh. They were slaves. What were they doing? They were in the world. And this is the picture of the world today, and it still stands. Why? Because it's the matrix, because it keeps people enslaved. So how do you escape the matrix? Well, first of all, you have to know what it is. You have to be educated. The Bible says, without a vision, the people cast off restraint, and then it also says, my people die for lack of knowledge. I forget exactly where those verses are, but you can Google those verses. My people die for a lack of knowledge. Without a vision, people cast off restraint. What that means is that we have to know things. What is the G.I. Joe? I love this analogy. G.I. Joe. What does G.I. Joe say? What does G.I. Joe say? It says, knowing is half the power, right? That's why people say knowledge is power. When you know things, well, it kind of frees you a little bit, right? You don't have to be in the dark. You don't have to be in the ignorance. Wisdom is knowledge applied in a correct way. There's a difference between being wise and having knowledge, right? Wisdom is knowledge applied in a correct way. So if we have this knowledge, how can we apply it? First of all, it's a freeing thing to just know this, because a lot of people, particularly, young people who are caught up in ambition, they're caught up in, I have the opportunity to be rich, because that's what America is. It's this big opportunity, this big land of opportunity. They call it the land of opportunity. They call it the place where you can achieve your dreams and all this stuff. More basically lies, basically things that are technically true, but really not true for everybody. They're only true for a very select few amount of people. So it's this weird, kind of in this weird catch. You're in between a rock and a hard place, because on the one hand, you want to make more money. On the other hand, people are telling you, oh, money doesn't make you happy, blah, 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 which is true. But on the other hand, they're these agents of the matrix, right? These machines, what I call them demons, because that's what they are, right? Are behind the scenes, and they are instigating people. Oh, look at Jay-Z. Oh, look at Michael Jordan. Look at this person, this singer. That you can be like them, and technically, quote unquote, yes, you can be like them. I'm not saying it's not possible. There's a difference between possibility and probability. It's possible, but it's not probable for most people, right? The chances that you're going to make it to, say, for instance, the NBA are like 1 in 200 million or something, some astronomical. I have a better chance of winning the lottery, right? But it's the same thing with fame. It's the same thing with, and it's all corrupted. The whole system's corrupted. Yes, sports to some degree are not corrupted, because, not to say there's not politics in sports, because there absolutely is. But they're less corrupted than, say, Hollywood, which is just a big social club. It's just a big popularity club, and it's a weirdo satanic place, and we all know about that stuff because it's all out there, and if you do any amount of research on it, you'll find that it's just very satanic. Um, but it's not what you think it is when you're young, right? When you're young, you think, oh, I could be an actor, I could play sports, I could do all this, and then you realize when you get older that no, these things aren't viable for various reasons. So it's not that it's not possible, it's just not probable. So that is one thing that frees people, right? And I think that in and of itself is success. It's a success to have your mind freed from errant ambition. A lot of people have errant ambition, like pipe dreams, right? Oh, I'm going to become a rapper. I'm going to do this or that, right? And it's hard to learn those lessons that it's not going to work out because you just statistically are not going to make it. You have to be insanely amazing at something, really anything, whether it's singing or sports or building stuff or an engineer or yeah, anything you do, you have to be very good at. Really, even to get a job, you got to be, qualified and skilled enough to do the job, right? So are you better than these millions of other people who are trying to be singers and sports players, or are you better than all, you know what I mean? So these are things that which is the problem with America. The problem with this matrix is that they put this carrot in front of your face. Oh, you can be successful. You can be rich. You just got to learn how to do the stock market and do this and do that and that. And again, it works for some people. And I think, and this is a hard concept to explain, but that also is the carrot, right? The people who are successful are also the carrot in your face. Satan allows people to be successful. He allows some people to be successful to say, hey, look, you can be just like them. And then we envy them and we follow, and this is why we idolize them, and they're stars. And the reason why we do this is because deep down secretly, we want to be them. We want to be celebrities. What is a celebrity? It means people celebrate you. We want to be celebrated. We want to be loved. We want to be, uh, you know, put on a pedestal, followed, told we're great because it feels good. And we want to be validated. We want to feel good and we want the benefits of it. Attention, more relationship opportunities, more friendship opportunities. You think it's friendship, but it's all fake. It's all fake anyways, right? And we can break that down too. But so you have to know these things in order to really free yourself from the matrix, and which is what I really call success. I don't care about money at this point in my. I haven't cared about money, I think, in 20 years. And so, I mean, define care, right? Like, yes, I would like more money. Yes, I know what money can bring because I know that it can bring me freedom. I know that it can bring me certain things that I want. I know that it can bring me security and take care of me for the rest of my life. All the things that I mentioned earlier, right? Money can do that. So yes, I want those things. But this is where the grift comes in, is what do you got to do to get those things, right? What do you got to do? You got to kind of sell your soul, right? And the term sell your soul has a lot of connotation to it. It can mean a lot of different things, right? What I'm in the context that I'm talking about, selling your soul is to become a slave. You will become a slave in one way or another. And a lot of people will be like, well, I'd rather be a slave to my this business that I'm building or my stocks because I could get rich that way. So I'm doing my investments and all the stuff that they tell you to do in the self-help program. Yes, go to work. True, you need your one source of income, but then you need these other sources of income. You need these, they call them streams of income, flows or whatever, and have all these different businesses and this, that, and the third. Sure, maybe that'll work for some people. And I'm not saying that's bad advice per se. If it works for you, great, do it. If you can become free financially through starting this business, e-commerce or whatever, stocks, whatever, do it. Fine. That's not the point. The point is that most people will not be successful. Most people will not. Some people will. Most people won't. Most people aren't going to make much from the stock market. Maybe eventually you can, get a retirement thing going or whatever. But most people aren't going to be Warren Buffett. Most people are not going to be Steve Jobs or Jeff Bezos, doing e-commerce or selling, whatever crap you made or whatever. It's not going to work for most people. This is why there is only one Jeff Bezos. This is why there is only one Warren Buffett. This is why there is only one Steve Jobs, is because these are rarities. And again, I put these people in the context of the carrot in front of the face, because people think, oh, I could do it too. The truth is that no, most people can't, and most people won't. And there's a reason for that, because somebody runs this world who is more powerful than us. Somebody runs this world who has the keys to the quote unquote kingdom of this world, and that's Satan. There's a verse in, I think, probably Matthew or Mark or Luke or John. It's for sure in the Gospels, when Jesus is in the wilderness and Satan comes to him and he's tempting him, and he says, what does he say? He says, all the kingdoms of the world are in my hand. I rule over all of them, and I give to whomever I will. I give power and whatever wealth or whatever to whomever I will. That's what he says to Jesus. And the reason why he's telling Jesus that is because he's trying to tempt Jesus into leaving his purpose. He's trying to tempt Jesus into bowing down to him. He's trying to tempt Jesus into folding and giving up on God's plan and God's purpose. And this is something that happens all the time. This happens all the time with people, is they lose sight of their purpose. They lose sight of God. They lose sight of their position in God's kingdom. They lose sight of what they were created to do, right? And this is the problem with the matrix. This is the problem with the world system. This is the problem with that term success, is Satan knows this, is that you're going to lose out on something. You're going to lose if you, this is why the Bible says money is a root of all evil. It doesn't say the root of all people. A lot of people get that wrong. They think it says the root. It doesn't. It's a root. Meaning there's other roots of evil, but money is a big one. Money is a big root of evil. And many people, I would say, if I'd say most people, but I would say well, for sure most people are enslaved to money in one way or another, right? But and many people sell their souls for money. It just is what it is, in one way or another. And I believe that wage slavery is a type of selling your soul for money. I really do. But the point is that Satan runs it, and he puts all these people in these positions, these actors, the singers, the real estate agents who are on YouTube telling you this is how you can do it. This is how I made my 20 million. This is how to. These people are agents of the matrix, right? And they don't know it. That's the funniest thing. They don't know it. Your favorite celebrity, your favorite musician, your favorite rapper, whatever. They're agents of the matrix. They're agents of Satan. Why? Because they're putting forth a false persona. They're putting forth a false lifestyle. They're putting forth a false image, and they're not representing God. Maybe one or two of them will be like, oh, I thank God, and oh, I believe in Jesus, whatever. You can say whatever, but what is your lifestyle? Who are you really? Who's really your benefactor, right? Who's really your benefactor? It's Satan. Why? Because he runs the matrix. He runs the world, right? So these are temptations. These idols, they're really just temptations. Because what do most people think? Do people really love them? Yes, in a way they love them, but a lot of the reason why they like stars and idols and music, whatever. Yes, they make good music, and that's inextricably a part of it, right? It's intrinsically a part of why they love these people, but a lot of it's just envy. A lot of it is they just want to be that person. God, I wish I could sing like this person. I wish I could rap like this person. I wish I could act like this person. I wish I could play sports like this person. This is why we follow these people, because they're humans just like us, but they're doing something that we want to do. And if we really thought about it and stopped and considered, why are we following these people? It's because we want that position. We want what they have, because we want the accolades. We want the fame. We want the attention. We want the love from the fans. We want the money. We want all the perks that come with it, because it's like living in heaven. It's like living in heaven on earth. Most people are suffering. Most people are struggling paycheck to paycheck. Not saying most people are just in depression and poverty and abject. No, that's not what I mean. But I'm saying that most people don't have what they really want. Most people don't want to drive around in some $10,000 car. They want to drive around a $50,000 car, a $100,000 car. Most people don't want to live in a $250,000 house, or nowadays house prices are going crazy, say $500,000 house. No, most people now want to live in a $10 million mansion. Of course you would. It's just we want that pleasure. We want that leisure. We want that access to free time and health and all that. We want that, right? But we can't have that. The truth is most people will never have that. The truth is that most people um, it's not viable for most people. So this is the truth and the education that could turn into wisdom if taken correctly, if digested correctly, right? The reason why it turns into freedom, knowing that wisdom, is because you can say, wait, okay, it's a scam, it's a game, it's a setup. This is what the world is, the cosmos, the matrix, whatever. It's a setup, right? It's a trap. It's a trap. And I'm not saying that we have to physically remove ourselves from that. That's not the point here, because we can't, because we have to make the money. So in a sense, we're going to be slaves whether we like it or not. That you know, even, well, so, sorry to say it, but this is what God said in Genesis. He said, cursed is the ground, cursed is, you know, he there was a curse on man when man fell away from God in the Garden of Eden. He said, you will have to work. You will have to, you know, by the sweat of your brow, you will, you know, have your sustenance, or whatever he said. You know, go read it. Genesis, I think, chapter 4 or something like that. Before that, what was the scenario? What was the setup? God was taking care of Adam and Eve. He was taking care of his children. He fed them. They didn't have to toil. They didn't have to worry or fear, because God had their back. God had them, and that was the benefit. That is the bit, still the benefit of being with God, is that He takes care of us. And this is His promise in the Gospels, is that He'll take care of us. And His promise throughout the whole book, the whole 66 books in the Bible, is that it's a running theme. God wants to take care of His children, but we need to turn to Him, and we need to trust Him, and we need to have a relationship with Him, right? That's ultimately my answer. But I will say that, you know, if religion is not your thing, whatever, just have the knowledge and have the wisdom that it's a trap, it's a game, you're in a maze, you're a rat in a cage, you're a rat in a maze, running around trying to find the right door that opens up to the cheese. That's what you're doing. That's what most people are doing. And who's the puppet master? Who's the guy behind the glass looking at this experiment? It's Satan, because he runs it. This is what it says, and for, you know, he has an illegal reign over the earth, and this is the whole point of the Bible, is that God wants to come back and end it. That's the whole thing, right? But not to get too religious, the point is that it's not set up. Whether you believe there's a guy behind the mirror or not, whether you believe there's a savior or not, the fact is that this is a game. This is a setup. We're living in this, whether you want to call it a free market or whatever you want to call it, capitalist system, whatever ideology, or it's just money's king, right? Cash is king, right? Why? Because that's the way it's set up. And so we are in this maze. We're in the rat race, right? So what is real success for a man? What is real success for a man? Again, success is fundamentally linked to a person's manhood. It's fundamental, unfortunately, and this is part and parcel of the red pill, and part and parcel of things that I've talked much about on my channel, that men need to escape somehow and figure out and understand, is that ultimately the answer is to find different values, to find your own values. The answer is to I would even say define your own values, right? Unfortunately, most people, and this is where I probably differ from most red pill guys, is that most red pill guys, their answer is to work harder. Their answer is to lean into the conditioning, lean into the stereotypes of what makes a man. I would say in this sense, I'm a little more MGTOW, conceptually, ideologically, because I say walk away. I say walk away from the matrix. Walk away from slavery, right? Again, I'm not saying quit your job. I'm not saying become homeless or become a bum or whatever. That's not the point. I'm saying idealistically, or mentally, or in your soul, in your heart, understand that success is not, and this is part of the lie. Real success, in my viewpoint, is not defined by how much money you make. It's not defined by what kind of car you drive. It's not defined by your home. It's not defined by the clothes you wear. It's defined by what's in your heart. It's defined by your character. It's defined by what kind of person you are. It's defined by how you treat other people. It's defined by how much you love, how much love you put out into the world, how much people around you are burned by that love, or I should say, or just affected by your love. Are you a net positive to people? Do you bring positivity to people? Or even to just yourself? Maybe you're an introvert. Maybe you don't have a lot of social skills, or maybe you don't like being social. I'll put it that way. Maybe you don't like being social. It's not that you don't have social skills. You're an introvert. Okay, so are you a net positive to yourself? Do you love yourself? Do you treat yourself right? Do you treat most people have some kind of family. Do you treat or do you treat your neighbor right? You know what I mean? Are you a good person? That's success. That is what success really should be defined as. And I disdain the fact that men are defined by our financial success. I hate that, and it sucks. And it causes slavery, and it causes men to be used. And it's very sad. It almost makes me want to cry. Seriously, it's very sad, because the reason why is because men put so much into it. They invest even their souls into it, to the point where we're almost viewed as robots. We're viewed as a means to an end. And I've talked a lot about this on my channel in the past videos, is that men unfortunately are not viewed for who we are in our heart. We're viewed for what we can do for others. We're viewed as utility. I have a lot of videos that are titled something like "Men as Utility," right? What does utility mean? Utility is a means to an end. You're a tool. You do something for others, and that's why people love you. And unfortunately, this is where a lot of people are in their marriage life, in their family life. I should say a lot of men. This is where a lot of men are. And they view this as like success. They view this as like, oh, I'm respected because I bring this, I bring home the bacon, I pay the bills, I do this, I do that, right? This is what's defined as a man. And if you don't do those things, then you're not a man, and you don't get respect, and you don't get love, and blah, blah, blah. But what is that really? You're just a tool. You're utility. You're a means to an end. And I'm not saying there's not merit to being a provider. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you shouldn't strive to be a provider, because this is just the type of world we live in. But what I don't like is when that's what it's all about for families. That's what it's all about for a marriage. That's what it's all about for a man, as well. I make money, so therefore I'm valid. I'm validated. It's the same reason. It's the same thing where like women are like, I'm validated because I had a baby, or like my purpose is fulfilled because I had a baby. And I'm just like, anybody can have a baby. Anybody can get a job. Anybody can that doesn't impress me. That's not important. What is important, and what does impress me, is being a good human being, having a good character, being loyal, being faithful, being kind, being loving, having your friends back. If you're a woman, are you moral? What about your character as a mother? Okay, you want to be a mother, okay, but do you have a good character, right? Are you a moral person? If not, then what kind of values are you going to be able to give your children? You see, what kind of impact are you going to have on others if you don't have, the only thing good about you is you make money? I wouldn't want somebody, if I died or something, and the only thing somebody said about me was, well, he was a hard worker and he provided. It's just like, how empty. It's like a car. Like, you got a car, and your car finally died. You got to take it to the impact, or the compound or whatever, and it's going to get smashed up. And you're like, well, it was a good car. It got me from A to B for 15 years, and I'll sure miss that car. It was very faithful and loyal. Well, now I'll get my other car, and there's just something missing. This is why I say men is utility, right? You're means to an end. You're a tool. And I always recommend this book, but it's a book by Esther Villar. It's called The Manipulated Man. Esther Villar, a female, wrote this, which is interesting. I think it was in late 70s, early 80s, something like that. I think it might have been 1979 she put the book out. Anyways, you can find it online. It's called The Manipulated Man. And in that book, she talks about how women manipulate men to be providers and play a role of utility and be a tool, and whereas women don't have that same that same burden on their back. That's not, they don't have to if they don't want to, right? This is where I would say women have a choice. No woman has to work. They just don't. They can marry a man who's a good provider, and they can stay at home, and they can do minimal amounts of work. It's just, this is why women live longer, tend to live. I think women tend to live 10 years longer than men, if I'm not mistaken. It's because men are shouldering the stress of being a provider. Men are shouldering the burden, right? And I'm not saying there's not respect in that. Yes, respect a man because he's a provider. True, yes. But that's not success. That's not all that it's all about, right? That's not all that it's all about. You need something deeper. You need a purpose. You need a character. You need morals. You need to have an inner life, right? An inner life, right? An inner life of wonder. So this is what I've been thinking about lately, is keep your sense of wonder. Don't lose your sense of wonder. You know, when we're a kid, everything is wonderful to us. When we're a child, everything is wonderful to us. Trees, books, movies, this, that, and the third. Everything's amazing because it's the first time we're seeing it. After we see it more and more, it just gets boring, and then we lose our sense of wonder after a while because everything is just commonplace. Oh yeah, tree, great. You lose your sense of, but you gotta work at it. You gotta try to keep it. Work at it. However that happens. Appreciate things. Right. For me, I say this a lot on my channel. Like, find a hobby, find something that you can appreciate, something that you can. And I'm not saying that's ultimate purpose, because ultimate purpose it would have to be existential purpose, right? And I look at, like, male providership and male roles in that context. Well, is that your ultimate purpose? It's the same thing with women. Having a kid, is that your ultimate purpose? No, I mean, that is a good thing. You're keeping the human race alive by having children. I know you love your children, and I know that they're your world, quote unquote. Most people say, "Oh, my kids are my world." Okay, that's fine. You love your kids. That's great. But is that ultimate purpose? Is that is there something more? To me, it's just animalistic to procreate and then die and be like, oh, that was my purpose. Well, then you're no better than the animals, because that's all the animals do, right? They don't have any character. They don't have any morals. Most of them, I think some of them. Anyway, I'm not get into that. But most of them, they're just in survival mode. Are we better than the animals? Are we higher up than the animals? If not, if we're only in survival mode, then we're not. Right? If we're only just here to procreate, have some kids, and then die, that's all the animals do. There's got to be something more. There's got to be some type of deeper, and this is where the spiritual aspect comes in. This is where the eternal concept comes in. This is where the concept of the afterlife comes in, right? I'm glad I found God. I'm not sitting. The whole point of this podcast is not to sit here and preach. That's my ultimate purpose. That's my afterlife purpose. That's my thing. But and also, if you want to look at it from this aspect, if you believe in the Bible and you do believe in the spiritual aspect, which I believe there's only one spiritual aspect, and that's the Spirit of God. All the other spirits and spiritual aspect, the New Age spiritualism, etc., that's all just demon stuff. Satan stuff. That's all that is. This New Age, metaphysical crap, right? But the real spiritual stuff is the God stuff. But if you look at it, kind of lost my train of thought there for a second. I was going to say, yeah. Anyway, so if you have a purpose of an afterlife, then, oh yeah, that's right. The Bible says that marriage, there's going to be no marriage in the afterlife. Right? There's going to be no. I don't know if there's even going to be families. it, it's not going to be like that. If you really get into the depths of the Bible, it's not going to be like that according to the Bible. If you believe that, some people just believe whatever they want to believe. Oh, I'll be with my family on the other side. Maybe technically, and maybe you'll remember that that's your family, whatever. But there's not going to be any procreation. There's not going to be any sex. There's not going to be any marriage in the afterlife. So that puts things into context, right? Because so much of what men do is for women. So much of what men do is for their children. So much of what men do is for their family. I would say 90%, maybe 85%, 90% of men's lives, adult men's lives, is for their wife. The things that they do, how they think, what they choose, etc., their actions, etc., are for their wife, for their kids, for their family. The Bible says in the afterlife, none of that's going to exist. So what does that mean? It means it's kind of asinine. It's kind of futile in an existential sense. Yes, it's very important in the 60, 70 years that we're here, but that's not a lot of time. Particularly when you compare it with eternity. Eternity is forever. That's what that word means, eternity. It means forever, without end. There's no time. There's no end of time. That's what eternity means. And the Bible says our souls are eternal, right? So, yes, we have this finite body. We have this body that is decaying. We have this body that is dying slowly. And when we hit 70, 80, if we're lucky, we get to 90, and that's it. We're done. It's over. That's not a lot of time at all. When you're 20, you think, oh, that's so much time. But when you're 15, when you're 10, 15 years old, you think, oh, life is so long, because you don't have the right kind of understanding of time. When you hit 30 and 40, then you start to see, oh, this shit goes fast. I mean, that's how fast life is. That's how fast life is. It's over, man. It's over. I mean, some people might say it's long, but no, it's fast. It's fast. Life is fast. 70 years is not a lot of time. It's really not. And so if you put it in that context, then all this stuff, success, money, love, relationships, kids, family, it's all passing away. Your shoes, your jeans, your clothes, your possessions, they're gonna be gone, man. You don't really own this stuff. You're just renting it. We don't own this world. We're just renting it for however long we live. That's it, right? And we're all stressed out and hustling and, trying to maneuver and manipulate to get more and more and more, and it's just passing away. And when you realize that, that's freedom. And you say, oh, okay, I don't need all that crap. Okay, I'm not respected amongst my peers because I don't make as much money as they do, or my family doesn't like me that much because I'm still single, or I'm just not, they think I should be doing better, or this, that, and the third. That's their problem. That's not your problem. Your problem is, how can I get free? Your problem is, how can I get closer to God? Your problem is, how can I get out of the matrix, And it's not that you got to quit your job and go out into the woods. It's that free your mind. Free your mind and the rest will follow. What does Bob Marley say? He says, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. That means you're the captain of your own salvation. Technically, God, according to the Bible, Jesus is the captain of our salvation. But we play a role in that because we have a free will, right? And with our free will, we can choose to through knowledge, through wisdom through knowledge applied, which is wisdom, we can know what the real values of life are, the real the real things in life that you should be focused on. Not, oh God, I got to be richer, I got to be this, that, and the third, right? Not that, but how do I have a better character? How do I love people more? How do I enjoy my day more? How do I take time to go enjoy nature? How do I free myself? How do I not be stressed out about my bills or this, that, and the third? For me, it was God. For me, it was the Bible. For me, it was Jesus. And I haven't found a better way. Prayer. You know, prayer for me, prayer frees me. All right, whatever it is for you, maybe it's different. But to at least have that knowledge and say, oh, this is all a game, this is all a trap, right? Real success is not materialistically, it's not even necessarily money and the freedom and all that stuff. Real success is freeing your mind, right? Becoming a better person, having a better heart, freeing yourself from the anxieties of this age, right? Freeing yourself from the anxieties of, oh, I gotta make more money, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. And this is what the Bible says. It says, cast all your anxiety upon me because I care for you, right? It talks about the anxieties of this age. Google it. Read the word, read the Bible. It talks about it. I mean, in the Bible, there's freedom. It's there, and it's talks specifically about these things. And it adds up. It adds up, you know, if you are able to do certain correlations, like how I do the correlation of the world, the matrix. When you piece those things together, you're like, oh, it's all metaphorical. It's all this is real. It's in real, and really these metaphors and these pictures and signs and allegories, whatever you want to call them, are really God showing us things. Like, hey, this is temporary. This is something that is not of me. This is not God's kingdom. This is Satan's kingdom. This is something it's a lie. There's slavery, you know, and people are like, people are so, you know, like that quote, that Matrix meme of what's his name, not Neo, but forget his name, the black guy in damn, I forgot that guy's name, in the Matrix, Lawrence Fishburne, his character, right? He says, he's got a quote. He says, "People are so inured to the system that they'll fight to protect it." Right, and this is what they're fighting to protect when they put all this glory on, you know, working and oh, the man is the provider. Oh, we got to glorify the, you know, the provider. They're protecting the system is what they're protecting, right? And I always have to say again, I'm not saying be a bum. I'm not saying not make money. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that rearrange your value system, right? There's some people who figured it out and they don't talk about it. There's some people who figured it out and they're just out there living it. These are the people who figured out, you know, for me, I go out into the woods and I hike. I go out and take pictures, or I found this love, and she loves me and I love her. And we're not all about money. We're not all about keeping up with the Joneses. We're not all about, um, uh, you know, living this outward life that's trying to, you know, show everybody how happy we are. We're really happy, but we're not bragging about it. We're out here camping, or we're out here doing this, and we love each other, and these are our moments. And I think those are the people who live the best lives. It's not to say that they've freed themselves from the financial matrix or whatever. Maybe they haven't. Maybe they'll be wage slaves for the rest of their life, or you know, whatever. They're always working until they're 70. But the point is that they figured out how to have enjoyment. They come home and they do certain rituals, they do certain habits, they do certain practices in their life that bring them joy and bring them happiness. Um, People who get most stuck in the matrix are people who just go through the motions. Like, well, I'm supposed to get a job, so I got a job. I'm supposed to have a family, so I got a family. I'm supposed to have kids, so I had kids. I'm supposed to love my family, so I love my family. And it's all this kind of perfunctory performance, when in reality, like, that might not be who you really are. I'm not saying, you know, you shouldn't have kids. I'm not saying you shouldn't have a family, but maybe you really don't want one family. Maybe you really don't want to, you know, have this type of job, or like have this safe job. Maybe you want to go out and take risks and try to be an entrepreneur, or try to be an inventor, or whatever. Maybe that's your thing. Or maybe your thing is that I love nature. I love being out in the woods, and I just want to work a nice enough job to where it gives me enough time where I can do that. And it's just certain things, you know. Okay, it's not to say you got to quit your job and go live in the woods, but uh, you know, you figure out a way to keep your passion. You figure out a way to keep your heart. You figure out a way to have enjoyment, and you know, and it's not it's not the next paycheck. It's not, oh, I'm waiting until this next thing, and then, because you're losing time, you're losing your days when that's your life. Oh, I'll wait until the next paycheck, and I'm gonna get this thing, and then this thing, and then I'm gonna, and then I'll be happy. And it's like you're in this, like, you're you're trapped. You are a rat in a maze who is like, has these prompts, and the prompt is like, when I get my next paycheck, that's the cheese, right? And this is what and you know every rap song they're like, oh, I'm all about the money, I'm all about getting that cheddar, woo woo woo. Why? Because they're in a maze, they're in a game, they're a rat who is being conditioned to just only be happy when he gets that cheese. And I'm here to say that you can deviate from that. You can find different happiness. You can find something else. It's out there. You just have to find it. Whether it's a new city and you just love this city, and I go to the city, it's such a beautiful city, and I love this area, and I just enjoy this city, and I've experienced that. Or it could be a hobby, whether it's photography. Oh, I just, yeah, I got my job, whatever. That when I take pictures, I just feel so free. I feel wonderful. Uh, Maybe it's rebuilding cars. Maybe, whatever. Find that little niche, right? That's success. That is success. Not, you know, keeping up with Kanye West or keeping up with uh, whoever, man, right? These famous people, right? That is slavery. That is idolatry. That is that's a whole nother there's layers to these slavery, right? So those things are not success. And there's some people who there's a great saying that says some people are so rich, or excuse me, some people are so poor that all they have is money. That's a great saying. Some people are so poor that all they have is money. It's true. Some people, it's just they don't have a good heart. They don't have a good character. They don't have a lot of friends. They don't have a lot of family, right? And again, friends and family could, even though that's like what people say, oh, you gotta have a lot of friends and family, and so it becomes this, a lot of times people become friends or marry somebody they don't even really love or like, because they just need to have that, because this is what they think life is all about, when, well, maybe you should have been a loner for a long time until you found the right person or the right tribe or the right family or the right friendship, whatever, right? Or maybe that's not you at all. Maybe you find something different. But real success for a man, and here's the problem with that. Problem with that is that when you start, first of all, it's scary to leave the matrix, because there's some safety in the matrix, in a way. There's some comfort there. It's like you're in a baby crib. You're in this crib. It has these bars. You can't climb over the bars because you're too much of a little baby. You're not big enough to climb over the bars. So there's safety in that, right? But you're also in a prison. So it's a catch-22, right? There's safety in the bars, but there's also imprisonment in those bars. You can't get out. You can't get out of it. So a lot of people are just in the matrix, and they're like, oh yeah, this is safe. I got this job. I got this family, and their passions either are never developed, or they're too afraid to have a passion, or they have a passion and they're too afraid to chase it, because they're just trying to maintain things that they have, and they tell themselves things like, oh, well, I've got a family and other people don't, so I'm better than these other people because I got a family, and these are things that people like lie to themselves, like, when in reality what they really want to do is they want to leave that job and they want to go become a cowboy, or they want to go build a farm, or they want to go move to Hawaii and become a surfer, or they want to become a hang glider. Well, hang glider's not the best example, but they want to do something passionate. They're passionate about something that they're afraid to do, and again, I'm not saying quit your job, I'm not saying leave your family, right? But be honest with yourself, and as a man, understand that your worth is more than just utility. You're worth more than that. And I would say to yourself, you're worth more than that. To yourself. Not to say you need to abandon your responsibilities as a parent, not to say you need to abandon your responsibilities with your family as a sibling or a son or a daughter, whatever. Um, but to yourself, because you're the captain of your ship. You know, what do you really want? What do you really want? You might want to do this thing, but you're afraid, or you're so you feel trapped, or and if you don't have the money for that, that's a different story, right? Because a lot of times we want things that we just can't afford, and we just have to accept that. But I would say, and I've said on my channel many times, is that men should find, particularly in the context of MGTOW, because really this is kind of a MGTOW video, even though I don't call myself MGTOW and I don't identify as MGTOW, but for all intents and purposes, I am MGTOW because I'm single, and I don't have a family, right? I don't have, I mean, I have a family, but I don't have children. I don't have a wife. I don't have a family in that sense, right? And that's not something that I'm insanely hankering to have. There are many men who are just so afraid of not procreating, so afraid of, you know, not having a wife and a family and kids or whatever, that they just settle for anything, or they just, and I'm not that person. It's not to say that I don't want kids. I mean, I mostly don't, but if the opportunity presented itself, I had a beautiful woman who really loved me, who was moral and pure, and we were really in love, then I would probably want a kid. Or at least if she really wanted a kid, I would do it. I know it's a financial burden, it's a time burden, it's a stress burden, all these things that are not particularly attractive to me. But in a certain context, I could do it. But then that's how I am. But there are a lot of men out there who are just, they're so brainwashed by keeping up with the Joneses and thinking that this is what I have to do. Like, God, I gotta have a kid, or I'm nothing as a man if I don't have children. And they look down on people who don't have children, and they despise people who don't, or they despise other men who don't have family, things like this. That's not healthy. That's not cool or real, or it's not what life is about. That's not manly to look down on other men who don't have. It's like, you're trying to become a tool. You're trying to become a slave, and you don't even realize it, because you think that you have that somebody told you, or this is some kind of concept that men have, that in order to be a real man, you need to be a father, or so, things like that. And it's just like, it's the same as with women when they're like, oh yeah, I have to have a kid, and they get baby rabies, and I have a video out there where, like, I said men get baby rabies too, which is kind of true, but it's different. It's, women get baby rabies because they want to nurture and love something. Men get baby rabies because they want to have a progeny. They want to have a legacy and things like that, and they want to pass down things, and they want to feel like they're in this position of, like, authority and what, leadership, and this weird, where men get into this, like, and to me it's beta. To me it's like, to me the most alpha thing you can do is be unique. The most alpha thing you can do is go off on a different path. And some people will be like, well, no, that's actually a gamma. Okay, I need to get into all that shit, but maybe technically it's a gamma, but to me it's very alpha to just do whatever you really want to do, to just pursue what you really want to do. And a lot of that takes work. It takes work to study your heart, study your inner fabric, and figure out who you really are and who you really are, what you really want. It takes work, and a lot of men don't want to do that. A lot of men are just like, nah, I'm not gonna do all that. I'm supposed to be a provider. I'm supposed to have kids, and that's what's gonna make me a man. I'm gonna look down on other men who don't have those things, and it's just weird. And I don't like being around this type of man. And to me, that's not masculine. To me, you're an agent of the Matrix. You're a tool. You love the Matrix, because you're trying to do, it's like, how do I put it? It's like ABCs, that's what you're supposed to do. You wake up, you put on your shoes, you tie your shoes, you know, and you go brush your teeth. It's like what you're supposed to do. It's like, nah, live for your essence, live for your spirit. Who are you really? And this is why I admire guys like John Muir, Henry David Thoreau, people who left the Matrix, people who went out on their own beaten path, It's like that poem. I took the road less taken. That poem, the road less taken, and that has made all the difference. People like Charles Bukowski, people who figured out a different type of happiness, and there's a loneliness in that different type of happiness. To be a true individual, there's a loneliness there. When you really leave the matrix, it's kind of a lonely process. But you're not alone. It's lonely, but you're not alone, if that makes sense. There are other people who've done it, and their spirit and essence guides you, and their spirit and essence of that act that they did of leaving the matrix is something that should comfort you. And if you believe in God, then you're seriously not alone, because God's always watching out for us, right? God is our best friend. So it takes balls to not jump through society's hoops. Now, again, if that's what you really want in your heart, and that's in your essence, some people are like, oh, that's what I really want. I really want kids. I really want a family. Cool. Then that's it for you. Then do that. And I'm not saying that's not great. I'm not saying being a father or husband is slavery. That's not what I'm saying. But many people, their dreams die within them. Their dreams die within them because they don't have the courage to pursue them, to pursue their own dreams, and they don't have the courage to be alone, and they don't have the courage to suffer, right? Humans just don't want to suffer, and being an individual is a suffering. Being a loner is a suffering, but there's benefits. There's benefits to it that people who are conformed and who are going with the flow and who are components of the matrix, they'll never experience that freedom. And you can see it on them. Many people have not developed their spirit. Many people have not developed their heart and their soul, because they are so because they're just bricks on the wall, as Pink Floyd would say. They're bricks on the wall. Many people are just fish floating downstream. I remember when I was in high school, I had a friend who lived in Spokane, Washington, and there's this beautiful river. It's called the Spokane River. It flows through the middle of Spokane. I love it. It's a wonderful place, and it's this beautiful river. And I had a friend who had a snorkel and those, I forget what they're called, goggles, or those snorkeling glasses. And he had two pairs, and we put those on, and we went down to the river, and we put those on, and we floated down the river, and it was super fun experience, one of the funnest experiences of my life. I only did it one time. Wish I would have done it more times. I didn't know the water was so clear. I didn't know it was so shallow. I didn't know there were so many fish. And when I was snorkeling, I could see it all. And I saw these fish, and we call them sucker fish. I think they're called sucker fish. I forget what type of fish they are. But they just have this dead look in their eyes. They just have a dead look in their eyes. I don't know if all fish are like this, but these particular fish are called sucker fish. And they have this dead look in their eyes, and they're just floating, just dead down the river. They're in motion. They're where they're supposed to be, technically, quote unquote, but they're just not really. They're almost not alive. They just have this dead look on their face. And many people on this earth have that dead look on their face because their dreams have died within them, right? That they have no wonder anymore, no sense of wonder anymore, no sense of passion, no sense of excitement. You have to have that. Keep your sense of, I would say, 3 words: joy, excitement, and passion. I would say 4 words: and wonder. Joy, excitement, passion, wonder. If you can keep those things, then you will live a fruitful inner life, right? You'll live a fruitful inner life. And that's a whole nother world. A lot of people don't see the fruits of other people because other people's fruit is on the inside. It's in their heart. It's an inner life type of fruit. And it's almost imperceptible to other people. But there's a lot of times you can just tell. You can tell these people are fulfilled in ways that most people are not fulfilled. And they don't even have to say anything. It's in their vibe. It's in their energy. It's in their aura. And there are other people who are just like those sucker fish. They're just walking around dead because they have no dreams inside them. They have no passion inside them. They have not fulfilled. Maybe they did, but it never worked because they're just so trapped in the matrix. And these people are just basically walking dead. And I'm not judging them. I hope that they find it. I hope that they prove. I hope that something sparks and an inner life is, uh, resurrected within them. I hope. But it's sad. It's sad to see that so many people are just like those fish floating down the river, dead look in their eye. Yes, they're on the river. They're where they're supposed to be. They're floating down, but what's carrying them? It's the current. It's not their own, their own heart. It's not their own passions are carrying them. It's the current. And so a lot of people are just in the current of this age. I think even the Bible talks about that. This age is a current. I think it was, I love, here's a great quote that I love. Abraham Lincoln said, if you're going against the current, then you're going the right way. If you're going against the current, then you're going the right way. And that's a really good quote. I've always loved that quote. If you're going against the current, you're going the right way. Because what does that mean? It means so many people are just flowing with the current, going down the current of life, whether it's keeping up with the Joneses or whether it's just doing the basics, right? Going through the motions, right? The ABCs of life, right? Oh, job, family, career, car. It's boring. It's tedious. It's dead. It's lifeless, right? Don't tell me about your car. Don't tell me about how much money you made. Don't tell me about uh, these asinine things. Tell me about your passions. Tell me about how you know, went out into the woods and this crazy thing happened to you when you were on the beach or at the this or that. Tell me something exciting. Tell me something that makes me wonder and wow, I have a sense of wonder. Tell me something where I'm like, I just, people who are just, that's all they're about. That's all they're about is all my money and you ain't shit if you, as a man, if you don't have money and you're not a provider and you're not a family man, you're not a dad, life's all about being a father. I'm a father. Ooh. And this is how they validate themselves. And it's just like, that's not interesting to me. It's like, cool, you're a father, good for you. So's millions and billions of other people. I don't care. What I'm interested in is like, oh, you took a trip to Hawaii and you saw a shark, or you went to a volcano, or you went to this enchanted forest and you saw this waterfall that was hidden that not a lot of people have been to. And you showed me pictures. That's the type of shit that I like. Why? Because it's freaking spiritual. Something spiritual about it. I went to a Kubota garden one time. It was by accident. I was out driving. And it was like 6 a.m. or something. It was kind of foggy out, and so I was younger. I used to just like going out and driving and kind of going out and exploring in my car, and maybe listen to some music or just thinking about things. I just had this like wanderlust in me when I was young, and I would drive and check out cool neighborhoods and then look at things and stuff in the early morning sometimes. And I came across this Kubota garden, and it was just so beautiful. And I went and I parked my car and I went walking through, and I just had this like spiritual experience where it was like foggy and misty, and it was like super early in the morning. Nobody was there, and there was just this aura, and that's the shit that I love. Or like, luminal. I think they're called luminal or it's hard to say this word. Liminal spaces. Um, you know that's the type of photography that I like. That's the type of art that I like. Like these cool places that elicit a certain mood out of you. I like to go walking at like 2 or 3 a.m. On days of snow out. It's 2 or 3 a.m. No cars, or there's one car like 500 yards away and it's spinning out, and you're like, oh, that person's doing donuts. That's cool. You can hear the engine from the car resonates on the snow. And it's like even though it's 500 yards away, you can hear it on the snow because snow is like this sound amplifier kind of thing. And it's just, there's certain things that you just, certain times and places that's unique to experience. This is why people like traveling and going on hikes, and I want to go to the pyramids, or I want to go to Nepal and see the mountains, or whatever, and um, because they're searching. It's a spiritual experience. It's something that's, it's deep in your spirit, in your soul, kind of. But and you can find that with God as well. God's a spirit, right? But that's the type of stuff that is, to me, what makes life purposeful. Right? Not, I turned this stock and I made $100,000 on my stock because it went up. It's like, bro, I don't care. I don't care. That doesn't excite me. Why? Because that's lust. That's greed. Oh, I made this money and I did this and woo woo woo. Right? This is lust and greed. Um, that's not success. That's not how I define success. Or oh, I slept with 10 girls last year. Oh, I got this Maserati, or woo, I got this Bugatti, or my Ferrari, or whatever. I got this new mansion. Like, I don't care. It doesn't. What am I supposed to envy you? I'm supposed to, like, I don't even want to be your friend. You talk like that. Tell me about. Show me pictures of you climbing a mountain, or like, you know, surfing, or tell me something that's like genuinely wholesome or genuinely spiritual. You got a spiritual experience, or like, or even tell me how you, you know, overcame depression. Tell me how you uh, learned that you were harming yourself by being immoral, or like learned that you were. Tell me how you grew in your heart, grew in your character. Tell me, you know, how you put everything in perspective, and you realize you don't need to chase money or chase women, or so. Tell me something like something that, and I'm like, cool, you grew as a person. That's interesting to me. Don't just get together and brag about, your successes and your materialistic successes and all that. I don't care about any of that. That doesn't move me at all. Um, so the whole point is that success is defined. Success is attached to being outward success, and I'm here to say it doesn't have to be. I'm here to say you can find something different. You can redefine your life by different uh, success definitions, and different markers of success. Um, you know, I would say experiences. I would say, you know, spiritual experiences, like I'm talking about. I would say, things like that. Spiritual growth, inward growth. You know, not gossiping, not you know, clickbait stories, kind of, quote unquote clickbait stories that people have, and or trying to market yourself to make yourself more popular. All this Machiavellian type of crap that people fall into, and it's just like that stuff is dead. It's dead. It's lifeless. That stuff doesn't impress me, and I've studied it for a long time. Been around it. I've been around people who are just always trying to angle themselves and build up themselves and make themselves more popular, this, that, and the third. And it's just, oh, I got to create value. And it's seeped into, and it's become part of the fabric of the red pill. It's sad, because that's not what the red pill is. The red pill is just the truth, right? But what's the answers to these truths? I think we can do better than just, oh, I need to have value as a man. Well, you're actually making yourself into a tool. You're more than that. You're a spiritual being. You're a soul. You have a soul. We're attached to this earth in one way or another, right? We're attached. I should say we're attached to the beauty of this earth, because there's a lot of ugliness on this earth. But and why is the beauty on this earth? Why is that spiritual? And why are we attracted to things like that? Because we're attracted to God, because we're made in His image and we're made to contain Him, right? And God is the one who created. God is the best painter. God's the best sculptor. God is the best artist, right? Have you ever seen a wonderful sunset? Have you ever seen wonderful clouds in the sky? Have you ever seen a beautiful day? Have you ever seen beautiful trees, beautiful mountains, landscape that's wonderful and beautiful? That's called design, right? What is art? art is design. That's what it is. It's a certain type of aesthetic arrangement. Why? Why did God do it like that? Because God is thoughtful. Because God is aesthetic. Because God is aesthetic. Uh, in the sense that He fulfills inner purpose. This is why people feel fulfilled when they go look at a beautiful mountain, or they go experience a a cool lake or a cool beach, or go and see some wonder of the world on vacation, because they're really going to see God, because that's a reflection of God, right? The design is a reflection of the designer. Have you ever seen a design that's just clashed, that you're just like, I just don't like that design? It's a clashy design because there's something dead in that. There's something that is, right. But have you ever seen a design where you're like, man, that's so beautiful, I love it? Because that's God. Because God is the reality of all positive things, right? God is the reality of all positive things. So when you feel that sense of wonder, when you feel that sense of excitement and purpose, etc., when you go and you enjoy these things, you're really seeking after God in a way. And God is the only thing that expression of design and beauty, which expresses God, is really the only thing that can fill us up. Everything else is just transitory. Everything else is just, yeah, we might have we might have love, we might have relationships and things like that, and I'm not downplaying those things, but they're transitory. We have eternity in us, so that is success. Finding that spiritual, uh, finding the spiritual purpose, finding that spiritual, tapping into that enjoyment of that spiritual is success, right? And you shouldn't be in an environment that kills that. Whether you have to move out of the city you're in, or get out of a relationship, or get out of a friendship, or whatever you got to do, if there's something enjoyment, spiritual enjoyment, you gotta get out of there. You gotta wiggle out of that. You gotta get yourself out of that scenario. You gotta keep your sense of wonder, man. Keep your sense of spiritual enjoyment, right? And I use that term loosely because, strictly speaking, spiritual enjoyment is enjoyment of God. But I say that, I don't mean it strictly in that sense. I mean it, in kind of a looser sense, where like you have, say you walk in a field of tall grass, and you get this mood, or you catch this feeling where you're just like, oh wow, you look up at the clouds, it's all beautiful, it's sunny, everything's just ideal and perfect. You could say that's a spiritual experience, right? Because you feel something that's deeper than just your emotions. You feel something that's to your core. That's a spiritual experience, right? But again, I would say that aesthetic and that feeling and that environmental setting is a reflection of God, because He's the one who created all that, and He's the one who created us. And this is why we feel that connection in those certain types of things. But I've given some examples here. I think it's very low, and it's very animalistic, and it's very crass for humans to only stay in the materialistic world, to only stay in the matrix, to only stay in that little rat race. I think it's very have a deeper purpose, and not just an outward success, and oh, I got fame or success, and that's the agents of the matrix, the agents of this evil world, who are dangling those things in front of you to make you think that's what's going to make you happy. And again, they allow certain people, your favorite musicians, your favorite celebrities, comedians, sports players, etc., podcasters, whatever have what have you, they allow them to be successful so that you will be distracted from your real purpose, so that you will think that that is what life is all about, when there's really a lot more than that. So find your spiritual purpose, then you'll find success. And I say this to men particularly because men are leaders. Men are the ones who for the most part, set the tone for this world. So if we free ourselves and we find a better something better, I think others will women will follow suit. I mean, that's another story. I mean, women. This is speaking to women as well, but a lot of the reason why I'm speaking to men is because we're so attached to this. Oh, the term success. It's so much part of our masculine identity, and it has to do with financial, and it has to do with the outward, etc. We're more than that. You're more than that. You're more than that, man. And don't ever let anybody define you by that, because that's not who you really are, right? And so many men, unfortunately, so many men have allowed themselves to be defined by their financial success, by outward stuff, which is transient. Comes and goes. Life is fast. Comes and goes. One day you're gonna be on your deathbed, and you're not gonna want to look back. You're not gonna be thinking about money on your deathbed. You're gonna be thinking about the time that you had love. You're gonna be thinking about the time that you were in this beautiful park, and you were with somebody you loved, or by yourself, or you were talking to God, or whatever, what have you. You're going to be thinking about those moments. You're going to be thinking about the time you were at the Grand Canyon, or the time that you were in Hawaii, or the time that you went on this trip to wherever you experienced this wonderful thing, and that's what you're going to be thinking about. You're not going to be thinking about your money, and if you are, that's very sad. That's very sad. I call that a spiritual death, not just a physical death. I call that a spiritual death as well. It'd be very sad if you're in that scenario and all you thought about was money. You want to think about good times. You want to think about good people. You want to think about spiritual things like that. We're deeper than just that. Unfortunately, again, I have to repeat, so many men fall into that trap of, I'm only worth something as long as I can provide. I'm only worth something as long as I got this money. Woo. That's the Matrix. You are brainwashed by the Matrix if you think that. Yes, there's some merit there to be a provider. Yes, it's good to have money, etc. But we're so much deeper than that, guys. So much deeper than that. Find something spiritual. Find something deeper, and that's success, right? I would say leaving all those other it's a trap. It's an entrapment. It's a trapping to fall into those type of habits where I'm only, my only exertion is to try to make money. My only, I'm all about money. You hear it in a million rap songs. I'm all about, I'm only focused on my money. Woo, woo, woo. No, man. It's just, that's brainwashing. That's propaganda. That's satanic propaganda to get you building bricks for Pharaoh, to get you enslaved. Again, not to say we don't need our sustenance, not to say we do live in this world. Can't go out into the woods like some people have, but we can't do that. So we have to figure out a way to live, but also keep that sense of wonder. Keep those things alive. Keep those spiritual things alive in your heart, and figure out a way to make it a hobby and a practice. Enjoy those things, whether it's it's the weekend. I'm gonna go out to this state park, and I'm gonna enjoy this. It's sunny. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna do some tai chi and on the grass or whatever. Well, you gotta have those experiences, and this is something that we've lost. People really used to be more into it, and they really had it figured out a lot more than we do now, particularly in this internet age, because everybody's on the internet all day long on their phones. When 100 years ago, 75 years ago, people used to get together. People used to go dancing. People used to go have block parties, have picnics, cookouts. People used to do things. People used to go out and do things, and they don't anymore that much. Very little compared to what they used to, because of TV, because of cell phones, because of internet. People are occupied, and they're even more enslaved now because of those things. This is why so many people are unhappy. It's not because you make, well, yes, making less money is a part of being unhappy, but a lot of people's unhappiness, whether they don't realize it, is that they're just too occupied with things that don't matter, things that don't make them happy in the long run. Happiest days of my life were spent at picnics, at parks, at beaches, rivers, camping, cookouts, friends, riding bikes around the neighborhood with friends, playing baseball, playing sports. Happiest days of my life, bar none, hands down. Because you're enjoying something, you're outside, this is what we're supposed to do. This is what community used to be. Now we're all locked up in our paneled up houses. This is what the Bible says. It says you're all in your paneled up houses where while God's house lies waste. People only care about their own little house, and they don't want to go outside anymore, and they don't want to enjoy anything anymore outside or with other people, and we've lost a sense of community, and it's very sad. Very sad. So that's how I define success: finding something spiritual, finding something deeper, finding a sense of wonder, something more enjoyable than just being a rat and a tool in the matrix, just being a rat in a cage, or a means to an end. A man whose only worth is his utility, what he can do for others. You're worth more than that. We need to have good experiences. We need to have spiritual experiences. We need to have something deeper. Yes, we need to have more morals and better character, things like that. But we also need these spiritual, and that's success. That is success. Success is not being defined by your wallet. Success is not being defined by your achievements in this materialistic world. It's not that you're a provider, although that there's merit there, something to be said for that. Yes, if you're going to be a father, you should be a good provider, etc. If you're gonna have a family, that's part of it. But that's not how I define success. That is just basic. That's just living life. I don't know what I would call that, but it's not success. Success is being free, freeing your mind, freeing your soul, being free from political ideologies, being free from, mammon, the trappings of greed and money, being free from financial slavery mentally, whether or not you're actually technically really materialistically financially free doesn't matter. But if you're as much as if you're mentally free, are you mentally free from money? Are you emotionally free from toxicity of this world, from all the toxicities of this world, mentally and emotionally? Are you healthy in those areas? And unfortunately, I just see more and more people are slaves because of the internet, because of their phones, because of TV, and once you see it, it's the same as in the movie The Matrix. It really is. When at the end of that movie, when he sees it all, he sees all the numbers, and he's like, "Oh, I get it. I can see it now." Then he could manipulate. He could use it. It was under his control once he saw it. And that's what I would say. What happens when you see all this? When you see that, oh, the MTV Awards, the Grammys, or all these are those binary code numbers that keep you trapped in the matrix. This, when he saw all those numbers, that's what that is. That's what the Grammys is. That's what the Oscars are. That's what these movies are. That's what the sports is. The playoffs and the championship. That's what all this is. That is your prison. Those are your prison bars, whether you realize it or not. Why? I got this little dopamine hit when my team won the championship, and that somehow I feel validated, even though you have nothing to do with that. You weren't on the team, you didn't even go to any of the games. You just wanted them to win because that's your city, or that's your favorite player, or that's your favorite team, whatever, right? And you get this little dopamine hit, and then you just jump from that to the next dopamine hit after dopamine hit after dopamine hit. And when you realize after a while, you're a slave. You're becoming an agent yourself of the Matrix. It's like Pinocchio when he becomes a donkey, right? The more you're on Pleasure Island, the more you become a donkey. That's the whole metaphor there. Is that the point is you don't want to be on Pleasure Island. You want to get out of there so you can become a real boy. That's the whole point of Pinocchio, is that you give yourself over to sin, or you give yourself over to these trappings, whatever it may be, whether it's drugs or alcohol, or whether it's sex, or whether it's popularity, or whether it's clubbing or sports. These are all addictions, in a way. And what happens? Well, eventually they take your soul. You lose your sense of wonder because you have given yourself over, and if you want to look at it like this, man is a container. We're vessels, right? What's a vessel? It's a container to contain something, to carry something, right? Well, what are we carrying in our souls and in our heart? Sports, music, lust, greed, more money, all this information, which is another pitfall, is the massive amounts of information out there, right? The information of business, the information of success, the information of self-improvement, all this information. Some of it's great. Some of it's very intelligent and good and maybe even applicable, maybe. But ultimately, what does it do? Is it life or death, right? Is it spiritual life or is it spiritual death in the end? Are these things freeing us or are these things trapping us? Are these things are these things wings or are these things prison bars in the long run? And I would say anybody who is sacrifice, and I don't care what the benefit is, if you're sacrificing your soul, if you're sacrificing your spirituality, and I've experienced this a lot in my life, pursuing things that were materialistic or whatever that I shouldn't have pursued, sin or whatever it was. Eventually you become, you turn into a donkey. You reap. The Bible says you reap what you sow, and it's true. You reap what you sow. Not to say there's not benefit in some of those things, but it's temporary. It's transient. The things that stuck with me my whole life, the things that I'll always remember, are good times that I had with people, are cool experiences, cool trips that I had. The happiest I've ever been, right, was when I was doing those things. I've had certain successes outwardly. I've had cool clothes or cool car or cool girl that I was seeing or whatever. It's all transient. It comes and goes. The things that stuck with me, and I don't even look back on those things like, oh, that was amazing, like I had this cool car. I don't even think that way. I don't even think about that stuff. What I think about is this spiritual experience that I had when I went to that Kubota garden when I was in high school with my friends, and we went jumping off cliffs into the water. And I remember how warm those days were. And I remember the wind when we had the windows down and the wind that was flowing through the windows, and how free we felt, and how fun, and how much we enjoyed each other's presence, and how funny and how we're laughing. And I remember that. And I remember going out into the woods by myself and having these spiritual experiences and walking in nature and hearing nature talk to me and things like that. Talk to me, right? Like the singing of the birds, the rustling of the trees. I remember walking through certain neighborhoods where I just had this, it was like a liminal space type of neighborhood, and I felt this kind of feeling, and like I remember stuff like that. That sticks with me. Not, oh, I made this money or I had these cool shoes, or like those things are just transient. And I would say, even to a good extent, I wouldn't say family, but I would say that if you're trapped, anything can become a matrix. Anything can become an idol. What is an idol? And the definition of idol is anything that replaces God. Anything that replaces God. And I would go so far as to say anything that replaces spiritual experiences in your life is pretty kind of idolatry. Or it's just a distraction, even if it's something you have to do, like work or whatever. It's a distraction from who you really are. We're supposed to be free. We're not supposed to be enslaved. The reason why God wants to come back and end this age and end this earth is because he doesn't want his children to be slaves. Satan has people enslaved. This financial system has people enslaved. And I started off this podcast by talking about how people are not going to be... people are... slaves to the system, and they're not going to be free because because they just they're inured to the system. So I started this off talking about that, and real freedom is freedom from that mental slavery, however that looks. And if it means you're going to be single for 10 years, if it means you sacrifice, you got a great, or not, it's a great girl, but you have a girlfriend that she's got this agenda, she wants to get married, whatever, she's got her agenda. If it means that you got to let that girl go, and you might be single for 10 years, you might not find another girl for 10 years, but if it's worth it, if you're free, to be free is the goal. Free yourself from the matrix, free yourself from the slavery, emancipate your own mind. And we have layers. There's layers to us. We have a physical body. You got to free yourself physically. Don't go eat McDonald's. Don't go eat junk food. You're enslaving yourself when you do that. You're enslaving yourself to sickness. You're enslaving your body to obesity. You're enslaving your body to bad energy, poor energy. You don't have any energy. Learn how to feed yourself correctly. That's a type of freedom. Learn how to think better thoughts. That's a type of freedom. Don't be enslaved to your own mind, which you can be. People can be slaves to their own fears, slaves to their own emotions. So much in this world can enslave us. So real success is freedom from those things, right? Freedom from the bondage of anything. The Bible says, "Do not allow yourself to become to come under a bondage again." Before people got saved, they were in bondage. They're slaves to sin. They're slaves to whatever. People are slaves to so many things. Free yourself from anything that will enslave you, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, even financially. Lose the concept of money. Lose the concept of that money's worth something. It's a means to an end, right? So if your worth is money, that means your worth. That means your only worth is a means to an end. But if you have something that money can't buy, spiritual experiences, morality, character, even humor. Humor is a talent. If you got these talents of making other people laugh, making other people feel good, or lifting up other people's spirits, or these are things that money can't buy. And there's freedom in that. There's real freedom in that. And we have to gain those things back. We lost those things in the internet age. We lost those things in the television age. Because we've been programmed. That's why they call it television programming. That's why they call it programming. And a lot of it is just distraction. The real program is just distraction. That's the real goal of the program. To distract you away from these things. To distract you away from the inner heart, the inner quality things. And it's so much of our time is spent in pain or regret or fear or anxiety, or even ambition is a trap. People think ambition is so good. It's a trap. Why is it a trap? Because it enslaves you to your wanted outcome. You are putting off your happiness today to reach your goal tomorrow. And they tell you that's good. They tell you that's good. Oh, it's good. It's disciplined to put off your current happiness for a future, to achieve a future goal. Well, what if you don't reach it? What if it doesn't materialize? What if you fail? And you wasted 10 years of your life when you could have been enjoying. And that's one thing that I learned early on in my life, was that yes, there's merit to discipline. Yes, there's merit to achieving goals. I'm not saying that there's not. I'm not saying that that's a complete lie, but there's a lot of lie in that. The reason why is because most people are not going to be successful in the real way that they want to be successful. So I would say adjust what you define as success. Adjust your enjoyment. A lot of people put off their enjoyment. And when I say enjoyment, I don't mean base enjoyment. I don't mean, like lust and that type of pleasure and things like that. I mean, like, you should be happy every day. And I think what a lot of the reason why people aren't happy is because they put their happiness once I reach this goal, whether it's I'm going to become a Broadway actor, or I'm going to become a famous this, or I'm going to become. It's always in the future, and we really. It's easy for us to do that as humans for some reason. Oh, I just got to reach this goal, and because I think we train ourselves. I think as kids we're trained like if we behave a certain way, we'll get a reward. It's like behavior and reward. I think there's a term for it, but it's like when you behave a certain way, then you get a reward, right? And so for some reason we carry that into our adulthood, and we're like, oh, well, I know, in order to be happy, I have to achieve something. In order to achieve something, I must be disciplined. In order to be disciplined, I have to have these goals, and I have to put off my current enjoyment for this future goal that I must reach. And that's just a recipe for misery. That's a recipe for depression, because you can be happy now. You can be free now. Right now there's something to make you wonder, something to make you happy. Go outside, go dig in the dirt. You might think that's crazy. I'm telling you, take a shovel and go start digging. You'll be like, wow, I don't know what I'm digging for, but it's kind of making me happy. It's kind of cool digging. You can find happiness in the smallest things. I'm looking at this little ladybug and it's beautiful and this is just wonderful. That's why children are so happy, because they're amazed at the most smallest. Amazed at ants, on the sidewalk. They're amazed at a piece of toast or something. I mean, some asinine, something that you just take for granted every day. It amazes a child. They're looking at a toaster and toast, and like, wow, this toaster is toasting this toast. Isn't that amazing? It's the most amazing thing to them, because they have not lost their sense of wonder yet. I think you're starting to get the picture that I'm painting here, right? You're starting to get the picture that I'm painting, right? You can just fall into these patterns, and you can fall in like, I got to reach this goal, and da 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 da. I lived my life like that for a long time, and it's not to say there's no merit in that. It's not to say that that you can't gain something out of that, because I did. There was benefits in that. I got a stronger character. I learned how to be disciplined. I learned how to work hard. I learned how to apply myself every day towards a goal that was a long term down the road, and I thought that was the way to go. But a lot of what happened was I didn't realize that I was forfeiting my current happiness. And and you should and can have current happiness, and you can have current happiness and still go towards your goals as well. But you have to keep everything in perspective. And I would say a lot of what I would define as success for a man is realizing that these are traps. Being educated enough to realize these things are traps, to take away your current happiness, to take away your current spirituality, to take away your current, and by current I mean today, right now, your current relationship with God, your current purpose, and things like that. This is, unfortunately, it's a weird thing, but goals, and not to say that they're bad per se, but they can take away your current happiness, because you're psychologically tricking yourself into believing that you will be happy once you reach this thing that is down the road. First of all, it may never happen, depending on the nature of what your goal is. Some people have very lofty goals that probably will never be reached because they're so high. Now, you can set smaller goals and things like that, but the point is that there are things around us. There's opportunities in life to enjoy every day, every moment, and a lot of it for me, I just have to confess, is in God. A lot of it for me is in God. A lot of it for me, I find enjoyment in God and my faith, because I believe that this life is a perilous life in a lot of ways. I believe that we are under attack in a lot of ways, whether people are Christians or not. They're under attack, and if you're not a Christian, then you're under a lot of deception. And then there's a lot of Christians who are themselves under a lot of deception from religion and misinformation about the Bible, things like that. Whatever. There's layers to the deception. There's layers to the matrix. But in general, people who don't have a spiritual side, don't have deeper purpose, are very much in deception, and I would say they're entrapped. I would say they're imprisoned in deception, right? I would say even everything I've been talking about as far as success, how it's defined, etc., it's a deception. It's a lie. I don't know if I'm doing it very well, but I'm trying to give you I'm trying to give you a truth. I'm trying to give you an alternative to that deception. Because the reason why a lot of young men are so unhappy and so disenfranchised is because they're not even successfully deceived. And actually, a lot of them are trying not to be deceived, trying to break out of that deception, and they're unhappy because they're not successful at it. They haven't figured out a way to practice. Right. Which is a whole nother. I don't know if it's a whole other story, but it's an interesting tangent, I suppose. Is that a lot of the reason why men left society and become mountain men or go on trips and become sailors, etc., was because they were trying to leave the matrix. They were trying to leave that society that wanted to judge them and put them in a box and scrutinize them and look at them with judging eyes and like try to figure out their whole. I hate that. For all intents and purposes, I might as well be living on a mountain because I don't want anybody knowing how much money I make. I don't want anybody to judge me, and I suppose that's one good thing about living in a big city. I would always. That much, and people don't really want to know your business in general, which I think is good because I think smaller cities people are more, I don't know, intimate is the right word, but they're more into your business because they don't have much else to do, so they know you more, and then they're just, and it's not necessarily a good thing, and so I think a lot of the reason why people in the past, history left their cities and their communities to go be sailors or go be mountain men or whatever, or whatever leaving they did or how they did it was because they didn't want to be judged. They didn't want to be put in a box. They didn't want to be scrutinized for, this or that, or they didn't want, if you let it, the matrix or society or community, whatever, will define who you are. They'll do it, and they want to do it because they want to keep you in control, or they want to put you in a box, or they want to, they want you to be how they want you to be for their benefit or for their comfortability. But if you really want to break out, then you have to do it for your purpose, not theirs. So that's how I define success, and that's what I think a real successful man is somebody who marches to the beat of his own drum, somebody who finds his own purpose and isn't trying to tell you about it, isn't trying to brag about it. He's just doing it, and he's not trying to not trying to monetize it. It's for him. It's for his own little bank, his own little economy within his own heart, right? For himself. And it's not a selfish thing in a negative sense. It's you're really at one with who you really are because you know what you want, and you figured out how to keep those things that I was talking about, those inner spiritual springs or wells or waters of life, if you will. But ultimately, I would say, for me, I was never able to leave the Matrix until I found God. I was very much in the Matrix, trapped in it, until certain events caused me to seek out for something deeper and find a deeper purpose, and I found that in God. And I found it in alternate lifestyles, alternate enjoyment. Like I said, go find yourself in the woods. Go find yourself on a mountain. People used to do this. They used to leave community, leave society, and go find themselves. That's why that's why they say I'm going to find myself, because that's what they're doing. They're finding their heart. They're finding that sense of wonder, finding that sense of wow, individuality and joy. And you can't get that when you are stuck and when you're pigeonholed in your little friend group, in your little marriage, or in your little what. This is why a lot of people end up divorcing or end up skipping out of town, because they're like, I can't take this anymore. This is the same shit over and over again, same people, same. I need something different. I need to expand. People have a spiritual desire to expand their spirituality, whether they realize it or not, and that can be manifested negatively, right? People don't even realize it that because they're so dead. Their inner life and their inner spirituality is so dead that it manifests itself in something unhealthy, or manifests itself in like an addiction or whatever, because you really want to be freed from the matrix, but you just don't know how to do it, and you don't have the words, and you don't have and I wouldn't say to do that. I wouldn't say to leave. Again, I'm not saying, I keep saying this, is don't leave your life per se. Don't just skip out and walk out into the woods like this guy in that movie he did. But that's the pursuit of real exit, the real meaning of existence, the real, the real deeper, satisfaction of being alive. Why am I really here? Things like that is to find that sense of wonder, find that sense of freedom. It doesn't have to be physically. You don't have to leave everything, go physically find your freedom that way. You can find your freedom by freeing your mind and freeing your heart. And to me, that's success. Anyway, I hope I've done a good enough job of explaining that. I hate that men get pigeonholed into these roles, and that's our only worth. And I hope that changes. And to me, that's what the red pill is about. That's what taking the red pill is about, is to freeing. Well, the red pill is just the truth, but to really swallow the truth and digest the truth and have a positive outcome is to, again, free yourself from the matrix. And that's what I think it's all about. And you can do it spiritually, psychologically, or there's ways to do it. You just got to figure it out, and you got to have a map a little bit, and that map would be to educate yourself on the trappings of what the matrix really is and things like that, and then figure out how to free yourself. So, but I hope I talked about that well enough. To me, that's success, and I hope we all find it as men. And God bless you. Thank you for listening. It's been Jay Lee, Northwest Podcast. Peace.